We apologize for the technical difficulties. It turns out Brandon might not have paid his internet bill.
Yeah, just died.
The internet just shut off.
Weird.
So we had just talked about how the Thunder had the 53rd, the 57th pick, as well as the trade after the draft. So with that 53rd pick, the Thunder took Devon Hall, who spent 4 years with Virginia. He started every game the last 2 seasons he was there. During his last season, he put up 11.7 points, 4.2 rebounds, 3.1 assists per game. He's a 43% shooter and a quality defender. 43% was that final year from 3.
Yeah, and so like his first 3 years, it looked like he kind of like improved that 3-point shooting quite a bit, and he was in kind of mid to low 30s first year, and then
I think I saw every single year he actually got a little bit better.
And so it's pretty cool that he improved from that low to 43%. I mean, I saw something that said he only took 5 triples as a freshman, and then he ended up making 57 in his senior year. With that 43%. So that's good news. Apparently, he's pretty good at being a catch and shoot shooter. So that's helpful for this team.
It's kind of what he's going to need to do. And it's really good to hear that a guy progressed like that through college, because as you get into the NBA, you kind of would expect that working with, probably, better coaches, typically. And so hopefully that progression will continue. Yeah.
I mean, if you've got professional shooting coaches helping you now, and then this is all you're doing all day, you would imagine that if he's shown improvement like that in the past, hopefully he's continue to do it, or at least become more consistent at it.
Yeah, and what we saw with those 2 picks is that, these are 2 guys that stayed in college. They did their 4 years, basically. They played for 4 years, but they were really different in where they played. And so you had you have Hall, who played at Virginia, so much expectations in that.
It was like a massive school
last year. Yeah,
1 seed,
played a lot of better competition, and then you look at Hervey, who didn't play that good of competition. That's kind of the first main concern, right? I mean, that's what you worry about whenever you look at the comparison between the 2.
He's from like a smaller school. Where did you say he's? Like
UC Arlington.
Is that like a Mid-America school? Is that right? Or?
That's in the Sun Belt Conference.
Okay, I know nothing about college basketball, just to get that straight.
Yeah, the Sun Belt Conference.
But I mean, I did see the VP of Identification and Intelligence from the Thunder, Will Dawkins.
Incredible title.
Yes. Can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah.
I would be so happy to have such a title. Like, you got to be a genius to be called the VP of Identification and Intelligence. You're the vice president of being intelligent.
No way every team has that position, right?
That's
something that Presti's sitting there.
He just really likes Will Dawkins.
He was like just sitting there. He's like, you know what? I'm going to create this position for you.
And this is what it's called.
And then he told him it, and he was like, wait, what? What did you? Can you say that again? Because I didn't get that the first time.
So
he had to like
I feel
write
incredible
it down.
right now.
Yeah.
Anyways, he kind of said about Hervey. He kind of talked about how they had watched him since they've seen him play for 4 years. I mean, they've kind of been scouting both of these players for that long. But he'd kind of seen them play against better competition, and on Hervey, he actually said those were some of his better games were when they played better teams. So,
I mean, they were so rare. I mean, I think I saw where there was like just probably a couple of games that he can really point
to. There's not a ton of them.
Yeah, that he had to, I don't know. With like obviously we're not draft experts. Whenever I heard that the Thunder had drafted these guys, I had to go and do some kind of research to see who these guys were. So
I'll be honest, never in my life had I ever heard of either of them.
I thought it was Harvey, if I'm going to be 100% honest with you. So anyways, quick scouting report on Kevin Hervey. So I've seen him referred to as a possible stretch 4, also a 3-and-D guy, maybe without the 3 though.
Yeah.
Because whenever you look at what he did over his collegiate career, he shot just over 31% from 3. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's not – it sounds like the Thunder typical guy, but it sounds like mostly it's going to be like defense rather than being able to act. Maybe maybe he will get better at shooting, because 31.5% over your college career is not great. I think he was like 30 – I didn't pull the number. I think it was like 33%, a little over 33% for his senior year. Maybe it was 34. I don't remember. Either way,
Hall has him beat there for sure.
It's not going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to be able to lean on that. He is 100% going to have to progress just to be,
Absolutely.
and something that you can kind of just adequate, something that you can count on.
Which I mean, I think in those lower rounds, I mean, you're trying to kind of take a flyer on a guy that maybe hopefully pans out to be.
Sure. And
somebody.
I did whenever I was looking at this, they talked about Kevin Hervey could have been, he could have gone even higher.
Right. Except for he has some
injury
problems. So apparently what I saw was he tore both of his ACLs at separate times.
Yeah.
Which would suck if it was both at the same time. But so both knees, which, I mean, an ACL injury is not something to take lightly. But
right.
I mean, I guess he came back from it. It's just a little scary already. Being that young and already having those injury problems.
Yeah. So an interesting article I found on The Ringer. It was titled, "What We Saw and Heard at the 2018 NBA Draft Combine." So this was pretty interesting. Kevin Hervey was in there. They listed him as the most intriguing player of the Combine. Wow. At 6'8" with a 7'4" wingspan, the UT Arlington forward hit spot-up threes, defended multiple positions, and hit a tough contested jumper off the dribble. Sounds like just one, though, which is something he did a lot in college. Health is a concern. He's torn both of his ACLs already, but his potential is tantalizing in the late first or early second round areas where risks, where you can take risks. With Hervey, a team may hit a home run. I mean,
we hit a home run. You heard it here first.
It sounds great, but the whole point is, this isn't somebody, and whenever you're picking at 57, you're not going to get somebody that's just you're not getting somebody that's going to, be able to contribute right away. That's not how it works. Now, like they were saying, like it said in the article, maybe you hit a home run. You develop him a little bit, and maybe he is a little bit better than what everybody else thought. Maybe the injury concern was enough to scare other teams off. And at 57 for Presti, it's sure, I'll take a shot
let's
here.
See. When watching some of his highlights today, I did see him hit a game-winning shot, which, I mean, obviously means he's got guts. So
maybe
he just dribbled it up and popped it right in the guy's face. It was pretty nice.
I don't know. It seems like...
But he was maybe playing a school that doesn't even exist now. I don't know.
I don't say. But I agree. I mean, I think that I think Presti didn't really have a lot that he could do. We always want that Sabonis, Oladipo sort of.
When we have no picks, we end up with that.
Yeah, he comes in and actually, is able to sort of steal the draft. It's just not. You just can't bank on that. And even so, how often is that even going to work out for you, right? But he's done it before, and so there was a little bit of hope. I was like, maybe something will happen. And so whenever you see him just pick, those two guys, hopefully that'll work out.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's very possible that they never see the floor on an NBA.
They could. So that's really the question. So let's just look at this next season. They already have we've got Dozier, we've got Hamilton on 2-way contracts.
Right.
Those are the two guys right there. So what is expected of these? Technically, there's three guys, but let's just talk about Hall and Hervey, who, those guys are already here. Those guys are going to be on the roster. They're going to be with the Thunder, or with the organization.
Right.
We don't know if they'll be playing for the Blue or if sometimes they'll come up. So, do you see a scenario in which either of these guys, makes it onto the bench for a game?
Or... I mean, it's very possible, but it's you kind of got to see what's going to play out with the PG and the Melo thing. I mean.
That's true.
It could be nice to get these guys on some really solid, very little money contracts and have them, fill out the end of the bench, obviously. But, maybe they get a little bit of time here and there. Andre, like you said earlier, if that was in this, I'm not sure if it was. But Andre, he's progressing in his rehab. So I don't know if he's going to be completely ready for the beginning of the season. Hopefully he will be, but... maybe this Hall kid sees a little bit of time as a backup somewhere, but
that is, I don't know. That is kind of concerning still. So one thing that one thing that was sort of frustrating with this team is that the Thunder were so top heavy. It just felt like they also didn't really get a ton of youth. Like there just wasn't a lot of like you had Nick Collison sitting there on the bench. You had Kyle Singler sitting there. Like those are guys that you're not gonna really you
obviously aren't using.
Those guys are done. Like there's no development that's happening there. Where it would just be nice to, even if because those guys are getting in at whenever the game's a blowout, whenever the game is over. So it would be nice to have some young guys like this that actually get to sort of we get to see a little bit
instead of somehow figure out a way instead of paying Kyle Singler $5 million, pay this guy not that and get him some time and see what he's like. I mean, I think it's a good thing that they're seniors and they're a little older, like you said. Hopefully they're a little bit more developed and you can kind of trust them a little more.
Yeah, I think it's hard for Devon Hall, just because of what the Thunder already have at the guard position.
Yeah, I mean, both of them really have quite a mountain to climb to get into the rotation at all, right?
Yeah, I think there's more of a case for Kevin Hervey because I don't know. It really does depend, like you were saying. If Carmelo isn't here, which we expect him to be here, but if he's not here,
great guy.
Yeah, he's a fantastic guy. But if he's not here, obviously that opens up even more. I mean, Jeremy Grant's definitely going to be here.
Yeah,
if that happens, and so. But I
was hoping you were just saying in general he's definitely going to be.
But I do think that there could be a spot where maybe an injury happens, maybe Patrick Patterson goes down or something. Maybe that's where
just wishing evil on Patrick Patterson.
But maybe that's where Kevin Hervey comes in. Maybe he can find his way and get some minutes in that scenario. I don't know. I don't think either of these guys. I think both of these guys will end up with the blue, playing with the blue.
That's most
it's hard
likely
for
what's
me
happening. If
there's not some kind of injury situation. Probably it may even take multiple injuries to have either of these guys, in a Thunder jersey for a game where they just sit on the bench.
Yeah,
even that much.
And like we said, like you don't know if either of these guys are going to pan out at all. But I mean, it's nice to have a couple guys to just try out. To see what they're like on the blue. You can see if they develop, and if they do, they're back there. So
that's true.
So what about this trade?
Yeah,
fill me in on what happened here, because I was pretty much going to sleep, and then saw Twitter that he made a trade, and I was like, anything important? Not really. Sleep.
So Hamidou Diallo was what you were talking about there. It came in after the draft was over. We mentioned that. I don't know. He was, what was it, 43rd pick or 40? I should have looked.
You should have looked.
It was 45th or 43rd pick from the. Was in that trade we had talked about. I believe we had talked about with Dwight Howard, where Dwight Howard is being sent to the Nets. The Nets with that sent over that pick for that was what Charlotte was using,
and so they picked Diallo. And then traded him to us.
Yeah, and so
for some mysterious.
Something that the trade can't be finalized because it's tied with the Dwight Howard thing.
Right. With
the Dwight Howard trade, it can't be finalized until July 6th, and so we don't really know, what there is. We don't. I'm sure it's a future second round pick. Like I can't imagine the Thunder. Obviously, looking at what the Thunder can offer, you're
not going to trade something crazy for.
No, I'm sure it's a future second round pick, and so. I don't know. That's another guy who definitely has some concerns whenever you look at Diallo. I don't know. That to me, like, if the other two guys, because you are looking at a redshirt freshman, his first, he almost came out. Like, whenever I was looking up information on
I saw that.
Last year, they said
he was just going to come out without having played, right?
Yeah, he was basically had redshirt for like 3 months with Kentucky. Didn't play obviously didn't play a single game. And so he was projected to be a possible lottery pick if he had done that. So anyways, he goes back.
Screwed himself.
Yeah, he goes back to Kentucky and
huge mistake.
Doesn't look spectacular. Like he didn't look like a lottery pick. And so, you do see him fall. Another article that I saw from The Ringer said this. So, as great as it was for Hervey, listen to this one.
Uh-oh.
Diallo is the poster child for how too much exposure can be a bad thing.
Ugh.
He's such a good athlete that he would have been a potential lottery pick last season, even though he was with the team for only 3 months without ever playing in a game. Once he stepped on the court this season, his poor jumper and limited feel for the game became obvious.
Ooh.
That's not good.
That
right?
is not good.
I mean, I don't know. As great as you heard what the article that I had, the Ringer article that I told you about for Hervey, like this one for Diallo just
really
seems
down
like,
on him.
Yeah, it seems like it's not good.
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of a weird thing, like for people to. The thing about him though, the only thing I keep seeing over and over is he's an incredible athlete.
Right.
Like the kid can jump. Like I guess he had the top vertical in the combine. I don't know if that was the first year or this year.
Yeah, that was the first year where he had. I believe that was the first year that he did that.
Mm-hmm.
And then it dropped. It was like 44.5 or something, and it dropped down
to
like
40
something. Yeah, and so I don't know. I don't really know what to make of that situation. Just going off of what I've read, it seems like he's even more of a project, and maybe that's just to be expected because the guy is younger.
Yeah,
but he did play at Kentucky.
He did.
I mean, that is John Calipari. I mean, you're talking about a coach who
it's a solid system.
Yeah, and kind of puts college players into the NBA regularly, and so. Right. I don't know. It does seem like that's more of something the Thunder are going to have to work through with him more than the other two guys.
I will say one thing about him. If the dunk competition turns into like a two guys competition, like two guys from a team can go, him and Ferguson would be incredible together.
Yeah.
The dude has got some pretty cool dunks and some highlight videos. But that's pretty much all I saw him do. I saw one of his workouts. He hit some threes in a workout, but that doesn't mean anything. Pretty much Steven Adams, everybody in the league can hit threes in a workout. But, I mean, yeah, it's pretty much he's a freakish athlete that's a huge project. So
it's a little concerning that, they listed him as underwhelming, basically. Yeah. Kind of what I don't know. What they thought he was going to be the previous year, he wasn't very good, or he didn't shine in college the way that he kind of needed to. And to see somebody that was potentially a lottery pick without them playing, and then you watch them play and they drop that far. I don't know.
Right, and it's weird about him is because it's kind of hard to find stuff on him that wasn't from that first year. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, any scouting stuff, like they were mostly looking at him that first year, and then it seems like once they saw him play, they're just like, I don't really want to look at him that much.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. With all three of these guys, I mean, I think the most that you can expect is, the Thunder will get a look with the blue. They'll get a look in practice, and
probably see him at Summer League.
Yeah, that'll be.
See how
so with Diallo, I don't know because his deal can't. I would assume that that we'll see him in Summer League because, I would think that once that deal goes through on the 6th, they'll be like, yeah, go right now, go down to Vegas and go to Summer League. Maybe he misses that first game. Maybe he misses the Thursday game that they have.
Yeah.
But I would expect that he's going to.
He should be able to get there and at some point during Summer League, get down there and play. But yeah, I mean, it kind of seems like they're just. I mean, they had some picks to use and they're trying to bring in some youth to evaluate and see if they can fill out any spots. And maybe they, like you said earlier, maybe they hit a home run with one of them or turns into a decent player that they can actually use. But
it does
most likely not.
Yeah, it does sound like they all could be Josh Eustace.
Yeah, absolutely. That's pretty much, we got 3 Josh Eustace.
Yeah. That's probably the most concerning part. All right, so do we want to, let's go into this Presti presser.
Yeah.
So after the draft, Sam Presti sat down with the media normally, but
along with Will Dawkins.
Yeah, but what was interesting was obviously there's a huge question with Carmelo that's come up. So they ask, people ask about that. So whenever a reporter asked Presti about Carmelo, it's just not great. It's not great what he said about him. So it started out, he said, the Thunder has had conversations with Carmelo's representation, trying to provide him with the most information to help him make the most informed decision possible with his early termination option.
Yeah.
So, with your powers of reading between the lines,
which I'm so great at,
what's he saying there?
He's saying he wants them to get the hell out of here.
Yeah, there's no other way that you can read that.
Like,
it sounded a little like a warning to me, Like, we're providing you with as much information as we can because you have to make this decision. Yeah. And I don't know. That to me just like
we've pointed out your spot on the bench that you're going to be sitting on while the starters are out on the floor.
It kind of sounded like his stance had not changed. Like the Thunder, Presti, what they had told him before, you know, that's still how they felt. And
right, and that, I mean, like Presti mentioned, that was just a couple weeks ago whenever all that happened anyways. You know, the exit interview with Melo, it wasn't all that long ago. Sam's exit interview with everyone. I mean, it just kind of happened. It's not much has changed since then. I think they're both pretty much still in the same spot they were then. And, I mean, there's a lot to figure out from now to when any of this buyout, like if it moves to a buyout, which I'm assuming it will.
So he continued. He said, it's well documented. We have a lot of balls in the air.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It's still June. It's not even July. So we have to see what it is that he chooses to do, and then we'll have a conversation from there. Basically saying, we'll try and buy him out if he opts in.
Yeah.
I mean, you're saying, you know, basically he has to make his decision. That was the first part. Mm-hmm. Like, we've given him all the information we can. He has to make his decision. And then...
Which he has, so he has an early termination option.
Yeah, early termination option. We're recording right now. This is Friday, June 22nd. He has...
That is correct.
He has, you know, Saturday, June 23rd. He has to decide. Mark Stein came out today. He said that Melo does not intend to opt out of his current contract before his Saturday early termination deadline.
God damn it!
It's what we've known. It's what we expect. $28 million is a lot of money. Like there's no way you could just expect a guy who's made so much money in this league, not only from contracts, but also endorsements, money. Yeah, I mean, he has so much money.
But $28 million is a lot of money to most
you can't
anyone.
It's a lot of money to everyone, really. I mean, whenever you're a pro athlete, your career is short, and he has been, you know, he's been elite in this league. He's made a lot of money, but still to tell a guy, hey, 28 million, like, you don't need 28 million. What do you get out of here? Like, there's no way.
Of course he needs $28 million.
Yeah, everybody, almost everybody can use $28 million.
So we got a Twitter question regarding this from Felipe Costa at Costa Felipe. Flipped around there. What are the informations that Presti mentioned to the Thunder, or the Thunder is providing Melo with? He gave a couple examples, like, we don't really want you here, being one of the examples, or you're definitely coming off the bench.
Yeah.
And look at that team. You'd be so much better over there.
All solid
I think
answers.
those are very correct. Yeah. Do you have any others that he can
no, I mean, I think those are great. I think the two sides are being honest with each other.
Yeah.
Like, that's all that it really comes down to. And I hope, I don't know. I mean, obviously, like, selfishly, like, I hope that Melo is like, I'll go make some money somewhere else. Because he can. Like, let's say his option would be to opt in or to not opt out, basically.
Right. So, like, to be clear about that again, like with an early termination option, all it is, he doesn't have to opt in or do anything. He has the option to opt out if he wants to.
He has to terminate his current contract.
Yes. Otherwise, he's not opting in. There's no action he's taken to opt in. He just isn't.
He's just hanging out on a Saturday.
The contract, right?
Just drinking more wine, smoking more cigars.
Yeah, with a waiter with him. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. I don't know. I kind of. So two things really. One is, do you at all feel bad for Melo? Because we have seen his whatever it was on. I think it was Instagram post or whatever he was posting to.
It was
on those
Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he posted those two things where it was. Obviously, this is getting to him in some way. Yeah, in some way.
I mean, I feel bad in general for people when everybody's talking shit on them. Like, it sucks. But, I mean, they are making a ton of money to get talked about.
Right.
But, I mean, at the same time, like, I mean, this guy has a family and stuff, and he's, I mean, as we've clearly noted on this podcast, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
He's a very good person. And, I mean, it's kind of like people are taking personal jabs at him, and that's kind of dumb. But... I mean, just as far as fans for this team, like, I mean, he had a really bad year, and I don't think he clearly doesn't recognize how far down on the totem pole of NBA players he is at the moment. Like, I mean, if you think about that ESPN article that came out, I think that was a couple years ago, where it was like the best 100 athletes in the NBA or something. He was like 60, and everybody was like all up in arms about it. Looks pretty correct now.
Yeah. So have the Thunder sort of gotten as much as they can out of Carmelo? Like, is there a situation where Carmelo comes back? Let's say he doesn't opt out. He's back next season.
Stays with the team.
Is he a viable option? Is there any way that you can see him being valuable to the Thunder?
I think so. I don't think it's completely impossible for this to happen. It's not probable.
Yeah.
I would never say that. But, I mean, if he takes all the stuff that people are saying about him and decides, like, hey, man, like, I'm going to come back next year and I'm going to try really – I'm going to work out. I'm going to eat right for the first time in my career. Mm-hmm. And he comes back fit and with a different attitude. And I mean – because if you look at this year, I mean, he did try. I do feel like he actually tried to buy in and did try for a while. Obviously, after a bit, it seems like he just kind of gave up. And then maybe in his head, he didn't think it was going to work the whole time. So it kind of depends on what happens. I mean, if PG leaves and he stays, then he's probably going to get a lot more touches and probably won't be that upset. But
my thing with Carmelo is what you said. I just feel like it's so highly unlikely
that
they're going to get anything
unlikely
out of him.
And at this point,
you can count on that. I don't know. It's hard for me to feel bad for him whenever this all started because he said, "Hey P, like they want me to come off the bench." Like you did this to yourself.
And then after that season,
and then after the season you had where it just wasn't great, like it didn't work out. You want to blame the Thunder?
And says
like,
no question.
Yeah, you want to blame somebody else? Okay, but you didn't play that great, and then you still come out and say, "I'm not coming back in that role." Like if that's what they want me to do, I'm not going to do that. Like you are not doing yourself any favors throughout this entire process. It's hard for me to feel bad for you.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
And you're about to get $28 million. Very hard for me to feel bad for you.
And I mean, like you said, if he's still in that mindset by the time we get into the season next year, like they're not playing. I don't think they're going to play him.
They gotta play him.
They don't have to.
I mean,
if he's,
they don't technically have to, but you have to.
Yeah.
You're going to give a guy $28 million.
I mean, it would be absurd.
Like, can you imagine him just sitting on the end of the bench making that much? You might as well just send him home.
But I mean, that's what I'm saying. He's going to end up being a Luol Deng if he doesn't get bought out, which that's why I'm leaning so heavily towards. I think there's going to be a buyout.
You do have a little bit of, power in that situation because, dude's getting old.
Yeah.
Like, do you really want to lose a year at the end of your career where you're really just going to go hang out somewhere?
Yeah.
Like you're going to just stay away from the team for this year and do, what are you going to do? Cause you're at the end. Like you need to be playing right now because you don't have very much longer.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I did see a picture of him hanging out with James Harden and a couple other Rockets players.
Go, bro.
Please go.
Go, dude. They are so good.
Ruin that team.
Okay, so we think he's going to basically not opt out. He's going to be here, right?
Right.
So if you had to put a number on it right now, let's say he's here, the Thunder are going to talk to him about a buyout. What's the number? How much do you think is the buyout number that he would get?
So how much do you think they're going to negotiate?
Yeah, how much would they negotiate?
I mean, a lot of people have pointed to that Dwayne Wade buyout that happened last year from the Bulls. He had a $28 million contract basically, and they ended up buying him out for like $20 million. So it came down like $8 million.
Yeah.
I don't know if it kind of depends on how contentious I think this is between them. If they're just all civil about it and
I don't think
he's
that's
like, I want out. And it does seem like they've been transparent with each other and said like, this is our sides.
Yeah.
I feel like they're going to come to an agreement and it won't be the full amount.
Either way, he's going to be salty.
Yeah.
He's already
salty.
He's already feeling that way.
Yeah,
like you can tell from just the way he has been posting stuff and just how he still thinks he's great, and that's the problem.
Yeah,
that's the biggest.
Like if
issue.
he would accept, if just look at what D-Wade's doing. Like he was awesome coming off the bench.
So I also do I wonder so let's say the Thunder do save $8 million with the Carmelo deal, like that seems like still a pretty good thing for the Thunder because that opens up Jeremy Grant might get maybe Jeremy Grant gets 10. But that $8 million can kind of help. You're kind of free,
right?
Because they're already going to be over.
Yeah, and
you're going to be over the tax.
So another thing they can do, I think it's like September or something. They have a deadline to decide this. But so if they reach a buyout and let's say it's 20 million, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. They can stretch that buyout money. They can stretch that money over 3 seasons.
Don't know that,
but I don't think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think you want to just get rid of that.
Yeah,
because you're not going to win this year anyways.
Right. Like there's like it'd be better to just get the money off the table. I think right now. I assume that's what they do, but the option's there in case they see some reason.
Well, until LeBron comes here this year.
Yeah,
obviously. Okay, so there was also Paul George was talked about. By Presti. PG and some Thunder staffers were at a surprise birthday party last night during the draft.
Correct.
Big deal?
I mean, I think it's a pretty big deal. I saw somewhere else, I don't know if this is at all valid, but apparently someone mentioned that in a picture of this party, there were pictures of PG in a Thunder jersey hung up somewhere.
Which is really interesting because PG's family threw this party. Mm-hmm. Like, how did the...
Apparently it was his sister, I think, but...
Like, it's just really interesting to me that the Thunder staffers, they show up and they're like, hey.
Well, I'm assuming they're invited.
Well, they were
by
definitely
the family,
invited.
Because it was a surprise party.
They were invited. And but it is like, did they bring the jersey? And like, we're just going to put this here real quick.
Just here, Paul. Just don't worry about this.
It's like pin the tail on the donkey. Hey, go put this where you want to play next year on the jersey you want. Wait, there's only one. Yeah, you're here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We flew all the way here for you.
So how much weight do you put on the fact that the Thunder are technically the only team that is allowed to do this with Paul George? Like, how important do you think that actually is? Because we've seen from the Lakers, they don't really care about that. And
yeah,
so
which I mean, recently they did actually have
that's what they said.
They had a tampering meeting.
Yes.
Which apparently.
Hey, quit getting caught tampering. That's what they said.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think this is exactly why we traded for Paul George in the first place. It's all of this stuff. This whole year, this is why we got rid of Vic. You know, we brought him in for the chance to pitch to him, and it seems like it's gone pretty well, right? Yeah. As well as we could have hoped. Like,
yeah, no, I would.
Outside of him saying already, like,
well, they didn't have the success that they wanted.
Yeah, you're right.
That was sort of the biggest pitch I felt. Like,
that was Melo's fault, right?
Yeah. So he's gone anyways, bro. So, but I do think like that was the biggest part of it. But I agree with you. Like, that's so important. You're the only team that is allowed to technically, illegally, that you're the only one that's allowed to actually talk about coming back.
Yeah, and apparently there's been. I think it was maybe Mark Stein. Apparently there was talks about how the Thunder have actually already begun talking about contracts and like amounts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So if they're already, it's good that they're in that part of the conversation already. So it is for sure a possibility that it'll stay.
Yeah.
And I mean, Sam seems to feel good about it still, which I don't know if he'd say anything differently.
No, probably not.
But I think the relationship that PG and Russ have obviously made through this year, they've been hanging out this summer. If their family is inviting Thunder staffers to his birthday party in LA, it seems like a pretty big deal. I'm obviously getting my hopes up for it, and they're probably going to get dashed.
So where are you at now? Just a feel of like.
I mean, I've been
Paul
pretty
George,
high.
Is he coming back next year?
I'm saying
percentage wise.
I'm saying like I'm at maybe 56%, 57%.
God.
He's staying.
That's so high.
I'm bought in, baby.
I'm still at like.
What are you, like 5%?
2%.
Oh God,
he's gone. He's gone. There's
the
too
birthday
much.
Party.
There's too much buzz around Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James. That is all. There's something there. Like Kawhi just doesn't come out to me. Kawhi just doesn't come out and say, "Hey, I want to go to the Lakers." Like LeBron James has been talking to him. Paul George is the same way. Like obviously, Paul George wants to go there.
He just made friends with a staff
but
guy.
it just happens that the way that this is happening, it all to me screams these guys are meeting up in LA. Whether Kawhi gets there this year or next year, it's happening. Yeah. And Paul George is gone, unfortunately.
I don't like it.
Do some Twitter questions?
It's possible. Should we real quick touch on that Kawhi thing though a little bit more?
We can.
I mean, I just don't know if Kawhi goes to the Lakers, do you think they necessarily need PG in that point?
I think yes, you definitely need PG, but
I
don't think
to have
Kawhi. I don't think Kawhi's going to get sent to the Lakers.
I don't either. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and so the Lakers came out and said, like they've contacted the Spurs to see like, hey, we're interested. Like, what are you doing? And the Spurs are like, we're not.
Response.
Yeah,
we're
not really.
R.C. Buford came out last night, like during the draft, and said that their number one priority is keeping Kawhi.
Yeah, he said that they're
obviously
in his plans. So
would be their number one priority. And Pop met with him in L.A. and everything.
there's something about a guy just not wanting to be where he's at, though.
Yeah.
And to me, it seems like he's already gone. And so I don't think there's really anything that they can do about it. I think that they're kind of delusional.
It just seems to me at this point that it's not going to be something soon that happens with him. I think it's going to be on down the road, like if he gets moved somewhere. And it does seem it seems less likely that the Spurs would send him to the Lakers without a pretty massive haul.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But I still think he's ending up with the Clippers, just for the record. I'm on record. He's going to the Clippers.
Kawhi's going to the Clippers?
Yeah.
Man, what a bummer for him.
It's happening, at least for 1 year.
I hope he does. That way he goes from this great winning team to just the Clippers.
Yeah.
Anyways, we'll do some Twitter questions.
Twitter questions, yeah.
Tweet. All right. Brian Davis for MVP at Not Katie's Burner 101.
Nice.
Did you see at Paul George's birthday party? Oh, this is the guy I saw that from.
So
Thanks,
now
man.
you can actually give him credit.
Yeah, good job. So Brian Davis for MVP mentioned the thing about him having the OKC jersey, the banners. So apparently the banners up.
Wow.
So what do you think of this? I think it's a pretty big deal, but
I don't.
Rob thinks it's not a deal at all.
It's
so
not significant. The only part I think is significant about this is that the Thunder are the only team that can do this with him, and so like they're like always there. Like he's like looking around. He's like, the Thunder are still. They're all over. Like they're staying with him.
Gone by now.
They're staying with him, and so if it's always fresh on your mind, you're like,
do you think
these guys kind of care? They're sticking around, and I just think it's somewhat significant, but has no pull on what he's eventually going to do.
Maybe so. All right, from YouTube, we got Panther Fan 13 says, "What about a Melo for Batum swap?" I don't see Melo waiving that no trade clause to go to Charlotte.
That's the biggest part of all of this.
Yeah, like him getting traded is going to be really difficult, and the teams he wants to get traded to, do they really want him?
Well, I do think that there's some value there in a team just having Melo come and put up a bunch of shots because.
But he's got to start. He's got to start though.
He's like, yeah, and that's another thing is like, I still don't. There's no way that he's going to sign off on somewhere where he doesn't have a chance to win.
Would you be pissed if he went to, let's say he goes to the Rockets and then comes off the bench for them? That would be upsetting.
That would be pretty bad.
I would be pretty upset.
Batum his contract is insane. He's under contract until the 2020-21 season. So, and he makes he's like $25 million.
Yeah, he got
average.
A lot because of that whole salary cap
I would
situation.
not. No, there's no way.
All right. Cody McGlone at Cody McChicken says over under 1.5 trades from this offseason up to the trade deadline next year for the Thunder.
Way under.
Way under. Because we have no things to trade.
Way under 1.5.
It'll be one trade, and it's Melo to the Rockets for
it'll be
cash considerations.
Negative trade. I just don't. Yeah. You have to have something that somebody wants. Yeah. And so if you're telling me the Thunder are going to, I don't know, get rid of Steven Adams.
I don't like why you guys keep talking about this.
Well, that's very because
upsetting. It's the only thing we have that anybody wants. I get it.
Maybe we get a sign-in trade with Jeremy Grant. I mean, what else?
I'd rather keep him. I mean, maybe. I don't know what's on the other side of that trade.
I just don't know what the Thunder what's realistic that the Thunder can sort of wave in front of, other teams that are going to be like, yeah, we'll definitely, we'll take your crap.
We'll take your Alex.
It's a garage sale at that point.
We're not sure about for nothing.
Yeah.
All right, Raj Patel at RP_6318. He's got a 6318 in his name. Do you think Westbrook, PG, and or Melo are actively making a pitch to LeBron for OKC? Well,
did you see the clip of PG talking to TMZ?
We talked about this a little bit last week. You weren't here to defend yourself because I don't think there was much to that clip at all.
There's definitely a lot to that. I like how he was
telling them nothing.
There's a birthday party that they go to.
Huge deal.
The man's words actually being said, which I agree. I mean, it's TMZ.
He didn't say anything.
He said a lot without saying very much. I can tell you that. The guy he always says the right thing. Like, I feel so good about Paul George is like that Thunder player that always says the right thing.
He's almost like a PR guy in himself.
Yeah, but he didn't that time.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
He's like, do you want LeBron?
Shoving off
No way.
the TMZ people because they're super annoying. right?
Yeah, but either way, I still think he could have answered the question better.
So Melo, is he actively making a pitch?
Not for OKC.
Absolutely
Definitely not
not.
for OKC. He's probably making a pitch to be like, "Hey, let's meet up somewhere." But there's no way he wants. I don't think he wants that. I don't think Carmelo wants to be in Oklahoma City.
I agree.
He wants that money, but he doesn't want to play here. He doesn't want to be
I
here.
100% agree. Okay. With that part, not the Paul George part.
All of it. Yeah.
PG Stain. All right, Thunder Goggles at Goggles Thunder. Would you rather OKC have no T-Ferg but keep Abrinas and Grant for the next 4 years, or no Grant and Abrinas but T-Ferg for the next 8 years?
I'll take Abrinas and Grant for the next 4.
I'm gonna agree with that, just because it's a known. Like, I know that I want Grant here. I don't necessarily know if T-Ferg is gonna develop into who we need.
I think it's still too soon for Ferguson to be able to tell.
Because like, what if he ends up not being a guy you can play, and then you have him for 8 years? That's a huge bummer.
Right, and also like the progression, the development that we saw out of Jeremy Grant.
Yeah, I
think that can continue. We kind of expect that to continue, and so I would probably do Jeremy Grant for the next 4 over Ferguson for the next 8. You throw in Abrinas to me, and that's like icing on the cake.
Yeah. It's like chocolate chips on the cookie. I don't know.
Oh my god.
All right. OKC Thunderama at OKC Thunderama. Are teams able to trade a player who then receives a buyout and re-sign him? So I guess this would be kind of like.
So Dwight Howard gets traded to the Nets. The Nets
buy him out.
He wants he's like demanded a buyout. The Nets, we believe the Nets will probably
sure they're gonna do it.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be there. And
so then it would be like if Charlotte tried to re-sign him.
Yes.
So according to like the CBA fact from NBA, that can't happen because here's what it says: a team cannot acquire a player that they traded away during that season. Season being July 1st to June 30th. So if he is waived by his new team, then he cannot re-sign with his original team until the 1-year anniversary of the trade. So he couldn't re-sign with Charlotte until next year. Basically.
It's also kind of
that'd be a strange thing for them.
Yeah,
to
that
do in
scenario would seem so weird.
Unless they're like, we just hate your contract, we want them to pay for it. They're going to bring you back on for like $4 million.
Also, it would feel a little bit like collusion was happening somewhere.
Yeah, I think that would be very suspicious. So that's probably why that rule's there in the first place. So yeah, G Vieira Nascimento at GV Nascimento. Long one here, folks. It's a strap in.
All right.
Am I crazy to think that PG doesn't want to play with Braun? A partnership in LA means PG would be an afterthought in his own house. When this whole PG to LA thing started, I guess PG wanted that so he could be Kobe. With Braun there, he's Pau Gasol. Then I think Russ's personality suits PG's better. He burns his hands for his teammates, something Braun doesn't do very often or very well. With Braun on board, he'll always deal with the not up to his level talk, and Braun's too media friendly, while Russ will take all the heat to him. There was a question in there.
Here's what I'll say about that.
Is he crazy to think that PG doesn't want to play with LeBron James?
He is crazy to think, but I will say, like, to his point, like, whenever you're playing on a team with LeBron, you are expected, like, you are going to compete. If he comes to the West, you're going to be competing for that Western Conference Finals. Like, you're going to, like, those expectations are going to be there for PG. I think if you stay with Oklahoma City, like, you're expected to get to that point. I don't know that you're going to be expected to win.
Right.
But if LeBron has that much fire, like, if you give LeBron firepower, like, I feel like expectations are going to be there.
Well, I mean, the question. So I think we had talked about this a little bit. Like, do you think a LeBron and PG Lakers is better than the Rockets?
No, I don't.
So you don't think they're better than the Warriors? So therefore, no, like, say they somehow matched up with one of those teams in the first round or the second round, like, they're not getting into the Eastern Conference Finals at that point in your head. So I mean, if he stays here, there's possible. I don't know. There's like, he could just end up getting to the same place he's going to get here.
He could, but
I mean, it's a lot better of a player, obviously.
I mean, yeah,
and you're at home where he wanted to be. So.
Sounds like he's
I hate this
going,
discussion.
Right? It sounds like you just talked yourself.
I think this guy had some good points.
It sounds like you just talked yourself into.
I'm with Nascimento here.
Right.
I'm with him. I like it.
All
right. Drew _ at Drew _ 611. Got a 611. Okay. All right. Would you want KD to come back if it meant OKC wins a championship? Fuck.
True _
I don't like it. I want a championship though. I just I don't want it from him.
I
really.
think I say no,
I really don't want it from him.
It's so hard because I don't know, man. It would have been one, like, if he would have just left, like, just leave. Like, say you had a great time while you were there. You just think that
cut
this
it
is
off and didn't talk
like
about
this
it?
is a progression for you that you just need to take as a player. Like, but you've literally said so many stupid things. Like, nobody
and he won't let it go.
Like, nobody watched you while you were in Oklahoma City. Yeah. Like, now you're
that
like,
was
I don't. He's so
completely incorrect.
It's so hard. I don't know. I don't know that I could root for Kevin Durant, even if he were playing for the Thunder. It meant we won a championship. Do you really want to win that way? Do you want this guy to come back and
what I want to
like,
win is I want Russ to beat KD to get to the finals and then win a championship, and then Russ to have it, and that would make me happy. Because if KD comes back, then it's like, oh well, Russ had to have KD back to do it.
That would be even worse.
That's gonna piss me off.
I would say no, I would not want that to happen.
I really don't want that to happen. Also, curse you for asking. No, I'm just kidding. That was a good question. Hoodie Thunder at Hoodie Thunder. Do you think the Thunder will go after a real backup center this offseason?
I think it's too soon to tell now.
For one, it's too soon to tell because we have no idea what's happening with these two guys, Melo and PG. Yeah. And also, if they bring either or both of those guys back, it's going to be real hard to get anybody that's not on a veteran minimum contract. Like there's just no money there, as we saw in our little drafting thing.
But we will. I mean, tomorrow is the deadline for Carmelo. Like, that's one piece that you sort of
you at least know you got to spend that money.
Right.
Yeah. So as of tomorrow, we'll at least know that. Gerard White at Gerard KW13. As a Thunder fan, would you rather PG stays in OKC, but it means KD gets 3 more rings? There's a lot of these would you rather things happening.
I like them.
So PG stays in OKC, but it means KD gets 3 more rings, or PG walks and KD gets 0 rings for the rest of his career in Golden State. That's tough. Because it doesn't say whether or not we get a championship at any of those points.
Yeah, but
because I wouldn't really care if KD got 3 more rings if we got 1. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm completely happy with that. If we got PG to stay here and we got a I mean it would. Yeah,
I would say like PG gone, KD no more rings.
Yeah,
that's
the salty one.
I just don't like him. And he's making it even.
He made it worse.
He makes it worse all the time.
Because we had all let it go, and he just keeps bringing it up.
Yeah,
made it worse. 0 rings for KD. Thunder up at Jesus shaves. That's funny.
Jesus shaves.
That's funny.
Okay.
Any opinions on why we haven't heard anything at all about Melo? I mean,
yeah, I mean,
kind of incorrect because we did hear.
And he's probably sent that in before.
Yeah,
but I mean, that just came out today where Mark Stein had sent that out. But it's likely you won't hear anything because he doesn't have to opt in. He's just gonna hang out on a Saturday.
Exactly. I think that's the biggest reason is because there really is no action taken on his part, like we said. Duran Ryan 3. I don't know. I'm just gonna skip that. How much worth could OKC get if they traded Westbrook? Didn't deserve to have his name pronounced correct.
I mean, he's
probably a haul, but I feel like at the point where they would trade him, he's demanding a trade. It's almost going to have to turn into a Kawhi situation where he's like, I'm out.
Is that the only way you get rid of Carmelo? Carmelo's like, I'm in, guys.
He's
like I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving.
Love this Russ guy. I'm staying here.
And he's
so you're like, well, we'll trade
Russ
Russell.
is like, I'm out. Like, if you're going to be here, I'm out.
Oh, God.
I don't know.
Like it.
They could get so much for Russ.
Yeah. I mean, it might be diminished, like I said, if he's demanding it and everybody knows he wants to go to a particular place.
Yeah.
Then they don't have to offer as much, which is kind of what sucks about San Antonio in the Kawhi situation. But Todd Lytle at ToddBoy23. Been saving this one for a while, he says.
Okay.
What would it feel like for the Thunder to win a championship without Russell Westbrook? Without him.
Totally just messed up his question.
It
would feel a little incomplete.
It would also feel like I was 73 years old.
Probably so. It would still feel great.
Yeah.
But, like, I really want that for Russ.
Yeah. It's my hopes and dreams would have been completely crushed if Russ ends up not getting one. I mean, he's still going to watch him all the time, but I really, really, really want him to win one. And I want to see him get that. Like, it's my greatest sports hope is for that to happen.
How many more we got?
2 more, but they're not that great. So we're gonna skip them.
Okay.
We already kind of covered them.
So let's do some notes real quick.
Let's do some notes. You gotta join in. Notes. That's good. We should do that more often.
All right. So Deonte Burton is joining Oklahoma City for Summer League.
Nice.
Burton committed to playing for the Thunder Summer League team Friday, according to Ian Begley of ESPN. Do you want a little bit of backstory on old Burton?
Oh, yeah, please, because I have no idea who he is.
After going undrafted in 2017, Burton signed with the Timberwolves as a free agent, but the former Iowa State standout ultimately decided to spend his first professional season overseas in the
Japanese League.
Korean Basketball League.
So close.
There he was named the league MVP and now may potentially be looking to chase an NBA dream this summer.
In Summer League.
Yeah, it's going to be great though, right?
Yeah. Great choice.
Dylan Buckingham tweeted out today that Devon Hall will wear number 5, Kevin Hervey will wear number 37. Well, number 5 going to Devon Hall.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah. Presty, update on Robertson. He was out there shooting free throws last night.
Thank God he needs to improve those.
Presty said it's a long process, but he's getting to the point where he can really ramp up his rehab. He mentioned he's progressing. You know, they're not going to push him. The long-term prognosis is excellent.
That's really good news. It's nice to hear something about it because it's really been.
Yeah, he talked about the importance of, Robertson with his team and what he adds, and so
yeah,
just hopefully he.
I also
back.
like that they're taking their time with it and they're not going to try to rush him, which obviously they shouldn't.
And then finally we had Brian Davis not going to be with the team next season. He had the 1-game suspension in the playoffs because of his comments. Don't really know if I assume that had something to do with
Yeah, I mean, there's been
happened,
a couple of things he's said over the past few years. There's the whole razor blade in the bathtub thing.
Yeah, I actually Brian Davis is like such a homer. Like you could tell right away. But
I mean, he did a really good job. I mean, one of the most historic calls that I saw him do was Russ's triple-double. I mean, when he on that Nuggets game.
Yeah.
Like that's an awesome call that he did, and that's something I'll always remember, I think. So I mean, it's a little sad that he's gone, but I'm kind of curious to see like who's going to come in. I kind of wish it would have been a package deal of not renewing the contract.
Yeah.
Till Cage, but I guess he's coming back for sure. So
yeah, he's coming back.
So
you have
a lot of nothing but cotton and nasty plays.
He's got that church league. All right, that's all the notes we have. Yeah. So thanks for listening. You can follow us on Twitter at OKC Thunderheads. Just subscribe on YouTube to watch. You can watch all of our pods live. You can watch some of the older ones if you just want to see us again. You can also find us on Spotify,
SoundCloud,
Google Play,
Stitcher, all of the podcasts.
Anywhere where podcasts
just go find them when they're there.
Summer League's coming up in Vegas from July 6th to the 17th. We've got some exciting news. Thunderheads will be covering it.
Yeah.
Providing some really cool content. So that's
pretty excited. We're going to be going out to Vegas, some of us, and going to at least the Thunder games and hopefully some more of the other ones. And
so should have some really cool stuff for you guys. We'll be back for a regular pod next week, where we'll have some updated news on Carmelo. So until then, Thunder up.